There comes a moment in every person's life when they have to face the brutal truth. Laziness is stealing their future. It's not just costing you time, it's robbing you of dreams, opportunities, and the life you know, deep inside, you're meant to live. Laziness is not a personality trait, it's a chain. And like every chain, it can be broken. The question is not can you? The question is will you? Today, I want to take you on a journey. A journey from inertia to action, from self-sabotage to self-mastery, from the life you're tolerating to the life you actually deserve. And we'll do this through 6 powerful truths that, if you embrace them, will shatter the shackles of laziness forever. Most people walk around carrying a false identity. They say things like, I'm just lazy. It's who I am. I've always been this way. And when they speak those words, they are not describing a behavior. They're claiming an identity. But let me tell you something. Laziness is not who you are. Laziness is a state. Laziness is a habit. Laziness is a pattern you've rehearsed over and over until it feels automatic. And here's the crucial truth. If laziness can be learned, then energy, focus, and drive can be learned too. The brain doesn't discriminate. It doesn't say, this person is destined to be lazy forever. No, it simply reinforces whatever you practice the most. If you practice avoidance, if you practice distraction, if you practice choosing comfort over growth, then laziness becomes your autopilot. But if you practice energy, practice showing up, practice pushing through resistance, then productivity becomes your autopilot. Think about it. When a baby is born, do you think that baby is lazy? Of course not. That child is bursting with energy, with curiosity, with a hunger for growth. No one has to convince a toddler to explore, to climb, to discover. Laziness is not natural, it's conditioned. It develops over time, as we start chasing comfort, as we let fear, doubt, or procrastination settle into our nervous system. Laziness is simply a set of grooves you've carved into your brain by repetition. But here's the breakthrough. Anything conditioned can be reconditioned. Anything practiced can be unpracticed and replaced with something new. You are not your laziness. You are not your excuses. You are not your procrastination. Those are patterns, not permanent truths. And the moment you stop labeling yourself as a lazy and start saying, I've been practicing laziness, but I can practice energy instead, your whole world begins to shift. Let's get practical. Imagine your brain as a field. Every action you take is like walking across that field. The more you repeat an action, the more you create a path. If you lie on the couch every day instead of working toward your goals, you're carving a trail of laziness into the field. Eventually, that trail becomes so deep that walking anywhere else feels unnatural. But guess what? You can start carving a new trail. Every time you choose action over excuses, every time you get up and move, every time you start before you feel like it, you're building a new path in the field. Over time, that new trail becomes easier, smoother, more automatic. That's how habits are built. That's how laziness is destroyed. Now let's talk about language. Language shapes identity, and identity shapes behavior. If you say, I'm lazy, your brain accepts it as fact. But if you shift your language to, I've been acting lazy, or even better, I'm someone who is learning to act with energy and purpose, you're telling your subconscious a new story. And stories are powerful. Stories are the scripts that direct our behavior. Change your story and you'll change your life. Here's the problem. Most people never challenge the story they've been telling themselves. They accept laziness as an identity rather than confronting it as a behavior. And as long as you believe laziness is who you are, you'll never fight to break free. But when you see it for what it really is, a temporary state, a rehearsed pattern, you finally have the power to take it off like an old, worn-out coat and step into something new. So ask yourself, what identity have I been living under? What story have I been repeating to myself about laziness? Because until you confront that story, it will control you. But the moment you decide this is not who I am, this is not my destiny, this is just a habit I've practiced, you reclaim your power. Remember this, you were not born lazy. Laziness is not in your DNA. Laziness is not permanent. It's simply a state you can change in an instant. And the moment you decide to stop identifying with it, you loosen its grip. You free yourself to practice something else. And what you practice consistently, you become. So the question isn't, am I lazy? The real question is, what state am I choosing to live in today? When most people think about laziness, they imagine it as the problem. But here's the truth. Laziness is only the symptom. The real disease is comfort. Comfort is seductive. Comfort whispers in your ear, stay here. Rest a little longer. Don't push yourself. You deserve to relax. And because comfort feels good in the moment, we let it win. But let me ask you, how many dreams have been buried in the graveyard of comfort? How many lives have gone unlived because people settled for what was easy instead of chasing what was meaningful? Comfort kills potential. Comfort suffocates your hunger. Comfort convinces you to trade the life you deserve for the life that's convenient. You've probably experienced this. Think about the last time you had a big goal. Maybe it was to get fit, start a business, write a book, or build something meaningful. At the beginning, you felt excitement. You felt energy. You thought, at this time, I'm going all in. But then what happened? The alarm clock rang early in the morning. The gym felt cold. The work felt overwhelming. And suddenly comfort whispered, it's snooze. Do it tomorrow. Take it easy. You've earned a break. And in that tiny moment, the decision you made determined your destiny. See, laziness doesn't exist in a vacuum. It thrives in the soil of comfort. It's not that you're incapable. It's not that you're weak. It's that you've been seduced into worshiping comfort. But here's the problem. Everything you want in life lives on the other side of discomfort. Growth only happens when you stretch. Muscles only grow when they're torn. Character only develops when it's tested. Success only comes when you choose the path that is harder, scarier, more demanding than what you're used to. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine you're sitting in a warm bath. It feels amazing at first. You sink in, you relax, you close your eyes. But stay there long enough, and what happens? The water gets cold. Your skin wrinkles. The comfort that once felt so good becomes toxic. That's what comfort does to your life. It starts as relief, but if you live there too long, it robs you of vitality. Now think about the opposite. Jumping into a cold shower. It shocks you. It stings. Every cell in your body screams, get out. But when you stay in, when you endure, something shifts. Your breathing deepens. Your energy rises. You walk out stronger, more alive, more awake. That's the difference between choosing comfort and choosing growth. Comfort feels good now, but it destroys later. Discomfort feels hard now, but it builds strength for life. So how do you break free? You have to flip your relationship with comfort. Instead of seeing it as a reward, you must see it as the enemy. You have to train yourself to crave discomfort, to pursue challenge, to seek out the very things that scare you. Because the truth is, the life you deserve will never be handed to you on a silver platter. It will always demand sacrifice. It will always require discomfort. Ask yourself, am I living for comfort or am I living for growth? Every time you choose comfort over challenge, you reinforce the chains of laziness. But every time you choose challenge over comfort, you break those chains link by link. Remember this. The greatest danger in life is not failure, it's comfort. Because failure teaches you. Failure strengthens you. But comfort numbs you. Comfort lulls you into mediocrity. Comfort keeps you from ever knowing what you're truly capable of. So the next time comfort whispers, stay in bed. Don't try. Play it safe. You need to roar back, oh, no, I was not made for comfort. I was made for greatness. Because the moment you learn to embrace discomfort as the gateway to your destiny, laziness loses its power. Here's the truth most people don't realize. Success isn't built in a single giant leap. It's not the one lucky break, the one massive effort, or the one perfect day that changes everything. Success is built in the compounding effect of small, consistent wins. Think about it. Laziness thrives in stillness. When you're stuck, when you're not moving, the weight of inaction gets heavier and heavier. It's like quicksand. The longer you stay still, the harder it is to pull yourself out. But here's the good news. Momentum is the antidote. When you start moving, even in small ways, you generate energy. You create progress. And progress creates motivation. The problem is, too many people wait until they feel ready. They wait for inspiration. They wait for the perfect plan. They wait until they're motivated. But motivation doesn't come first. Action does. Motivation isn't the spark, it's the fuel. And the only way you generate it is by starting. Imagine this. You're standing in front of a massive boulder. You need to move it, but it's huge, heavy, overwhelming. If you try to push it with all your strength in one single heave, you'll fail. But if you lean in, push a little, rock it back and forth, nudge it day after day, eventually it starts to roll. And once it rolls, momentum takes over. Suddenly, the very weight that once intimidated you now works in your favor, carrying you forward. That's how life works. Success isn't about giant, heroic pushes. It's about building momentum through small, consistent actions. You want to break laziness? Start small. Get up and make your bed. Go for a 10-minute walk. Write one page. Do 10 push-ups. These aren't earth-shattering achievements, but they matter because they build momentum. And here's the beautiful thing. Momentum compounds. One win leads to another. One victory gives you confidence for the next. One act of discipline reinforces your identity. I am someone who follows through. Before long, those small wins snowball into unstoppable force. Let's be clear. It's not about perfection. It's about consistency. Missing one day won't ruin you, but quitting will. That's why you must anchor your life in daily habits that align with your goals. Because habits are stronger than moods. If you rely on how you feel, you'll never get anywhere. But if you rely on a system of small daily wins, you'll transform your entire life. Think about athletes. They don't become champions by training once in a while. They train daily. They focus on the fundamentals. They rack up small wins. One more rep, one more lap, one more drill. And over time, those small wins accumulate into mastery. The same is true for you. Do you want to build the life you deserve? Stop waiting for the miracle. Stop waiting for the perfect opportunity. Stop waiting for the mood to strike. Start today, start small, but start. Because once you do, momentum will carry you further than you ever imagined. And let me tell you this, the hardest part is always the beginning. The first step feels heavy. The first push feels impossible. But once you move, once you act, everything shifts. Suddenly you're not battling laziness. You're riding momentum. So here's the challenge. Today, choose one small action. Don't overthink it. Don't plan it to death. Just do it. And tomorrow, do it again. Stack your wins. Build your momentum. Because when you master the art of small daily victories, you don't just break the chains of laziness. You smash them into dust. Here's the truth. Laziness doesn't always come from a lack of discipline. Sometimes it comes from a lack of vision. When you don't know where you're going, when you don't have something that excites you, you stay stuck. Why move if you don't know the destination? Why fight through resistance if there's nothing on the other side that lights you up? That's why people drift. They wake up, go through the motions, scroll their phones, binge watch shows, and repeat. Not because they're incapable, not because they're broken, but because they haven't created a compelling vision of their future. Without a vision, life feels empty, and emptiness always breeds laziness. But here's the secret. A strong enough vision can pull you through anything. When you know exactly what you want, when you can see it, feel it, taste it, laziness doesn't stand a chance. Vision gives you clarity. Vision gives you purpose. Think about this. If you're on a treadmill and someone tells you just run, so eventually you'll stop. It's boring. There's no point. But if someone says a run because the finish line is right there, and at that finish line is your freedom, your dream life, your family's future, you'll run until your legs give out. The vision makes the effort worth it. Laziness isn't stronger than you. It only wins when you forget what you're fighting for. The antidote is to build a vision so clear, so powerful that it ignites you from the inside out. So let me ask you, what do you want? Not what your parents want. Not what society says you should want. What do you want? What would make you jump out of bed in the morning? What kind of body? What kind of career? What kind of relationships? What kind of impact do you want to leave behind? Don't just think about it. Define it. Write it down. Describe it in vivid detail. Build it so strong in your mind that it becomes magnetic, pulling you forward even on the hard days. Because here's the reality. Discipline can push you for a while, but a vision will pull you forever. When you're exhausted, when you don't feel like doing the work, vision reminds you why you started. It whispers, this is who you're becoming. This is the life you're building. And you know what happens when your vision is clear? You start aligning your actions with it. You stop wasting time on distractions. You stop saying yes to things that don't serve you. You start showing up differently, speaking differently, walking differently, because you're living for something bigger. Look at every great achiever in history. They weren't fueled by laziness. They weren't fueled by comfort. They were fueled by vision. They saw something before it existed and refused to quit until they brought it into reality. You have that same power, but you've got to claim it. You've got to sit down, look deep inside yourself and say, what life do I deserve? What future am I going to build? Because when your vision is clear, your decisions become easy. And when your vision is powerful enough, laziness can't survive in its presence. So stop drifting. Stop living in default mode. Create a vision so compelling that it wakes you up early, keeps you up late, and drives you to take action every single day. Don't just break the chains of laziness. Burn them. Because you're running towards something so incredible that nothing can hold you back. Here's the reality. Laziness thrives in stillness. The longer you sit, the heavier you feel. The longer you delay, the harder it is to move. But the opposite is also true. Once you start moving, even in the smallest way, energy builds, momentum builds, and momentum destroys laziness. Think about it. Have you ever struggled to start a workout, but once you laced up your shoes and took that first step, suddenly your whole body came alive? Or maybe you dreaded starting a project, but once you wrote the first sentence, the ideas began to flow. That's the power of momentum. The hardest part is the beginning. Once you break inertia, everything else becomes easier. Most people make the mistake of thinking they need to take massive action immediately to change their lives. They picture running a marathon when they haven't even walked a mile. They want to build a business empire but can't yet manage their mornings. That pressure to do something huge overwhelms them, and so they do nothing. Laziness wins. But here's the secret. Greatness is built one small, consistent win at a time. You don't need to conquer the mountain in one day. You just need to take the first step, and then the next. When you achieve small victories, no matter how tiny, you create proof for your brain that you're moving forward. Each win says, I'm not stuck. And confidence feeds motivation. Suddenly, you're no longer someone who can't get started. You're someone who takes action. Let's get practical. If you've been stuck in laziness, don't aim to work 12 hours tomorrow. Aim to work for 15 minutes, fully focused. If you haven't exercised in months, don't sign up for a triathlon. Do 20 push-ups today. If your room is a mess, don't overwhelm yourself with the entire house. Clean one drawer. That small win matters more than you think. Because here's what happens. Once you start, your brain craves the next step. That's momentum. And here's the best part. Momentum compounds. Just like money grows with interest, your consistent daily wins grow into unstoppable energy. One workout becomes a habit. One focused work session becomes productivity. One small step forward becomes a lifestyle shift. You can't think your way out of laziness. You have to act your way out. And action doesn't have to be massive. It just has to be consistent. Consistency beats intensity every time. The person who walks every day will be healthier than the person who runs once and quits. The person who writes a page every morning will finish a book before the person who dreams about writing but never starts. So ask yourself, what's one small action you can take today that moves you forward? Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Something so small you can't say no. That's where the breakthrough starts. Because once you start stacking wins, laziness can't keep up. The chains start to break. And every time you follow through, even in the smallest way, you're not just building momentum, you're building a new identity. You're becoming the kind of person who acts, who moves, who creates. Remember this, discipline begins with a single choice, not a giant leap. One choice to get up instead of hitting snooze. One choice to put your phone down and focus. One choice to eat something that fuels you instead of drains you. Each choice is a spark, and sparks build into fire. If you want to break the chains of laziness, you don't need to wait for motivation. You just need to win the next moment, and then the next. Build small, consistent wins, and before you know it, you'll look back and realize you're living the life you once only dreamed of. Momentum is the antidote to laziness, and momentum starts now, with one step forward. Here's the truth. Laziness isn't just about wasted hours. It's about a stolen future. Every moment you spend in procrastination, every excuse you buy into, every day you let slip away, you're not just losing time, you're losing pieces of the life you could have built. But the good news is this, the future isn't written yet. It's not locked in. It's waiting for you to decide who you're going to become. And the way you decide is through your actions right now. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, now. Most people wait for life to change before they change. They think, when I get the promotion, then I'll work harder. When I feel motivated, then I'll go to the gym. When I have more time, then I'll chase my dreams. But that day never comes. Because waiting is the language of laziness. And laziness whispers the biggest lie of all, that you can start later. But later doesn't exist. There is only now. If you want to break free, if you want to build the life you deserve, you must flip the script. You don't wait for motivation, you act, and motivation follows. You don't wait for opportunity, you prepare so when it comes, you're ready. You don't wait for the perfect time. You make the time perfect by showing up. Designing the future isn't about dreaming, it's about engineering. Think about an architect. They don't just show up on a plot of land and say, well, let's see what happens. No, they have a blueprint. They imagine what could be, then they map out the steps to build it brick by brick. That's how you must treat your life. You're the architect. You're the builder. You're the one laying the foundation. Ask yourself right now, what do you want your life to look like 1 year from today? What habits do you want locked in? What energy do you want to feel in your body? What financial position do you want to be in? What relationships do you want thriving around you? Don't just think about it vaguely. Define it. Because clarity kills laziness. When you know where you're going, every excuse looks small. Once you design that vision, you reverse engineer it. You don't need to leap the entire staircase in one bound. You just need to climb the next step. If your vision is to be strong and healthy, the next step is one workout. If your vision is financial freedom, the next step is learning, saving, or building. If your vision is confidence, the next step is keeping a single promise to yourself today. Here's the magic. Every step forward reshapes your identity. You start to see yourself differently, not as someone chained by laziness, but as someone breaking free. And that identity shift is the fuel for long-term change. Now let's get brutally honest. Nobody is coming to hand you the life you deserve. Not your boss, not the government, not your parents, not your friends. If you want freedom, energy, confidence, success, you build it, you create it, you earn it. Laziness will try to chain you to mediocrity. Discipline will carry you to greatness. The choice is yours. So I challenge you, don't leave this moment without taking action. Write down your vision, define your future, then do one thing today. Just one that moves you closer to it. Because the second you act, you're no longer a victim of laziness. You're a creator. You're a builder. You're a leader of your own life. This is how you break the chains. This is how you build momentum. This is how you create the life you deserve. Not by waiting, not by wishing, but by deciding. The future is yours, but only if you claim it. So here's the truth. Laziness is not a life sentence. It's a habit you can break. You break it by changing your state, by moving before you feel like it, by raising your standards, by embracing pain as progress, by building discipline, and by fueling it all with purpose. You deserve more than the scraps laziness offers. You deserve the fullness of life, the strength of discipline, the joy of achievement, the pride of growth. To choose it, you have to decide right now that you're done being chained to excuses. Break the chains, step into your power, and build the life you deserve.